So if you haven't seen my last video about the Oculus, I urge you to watch it before watching this build. It's super easy. I give a lot of information about the Oculus, and on top of that, you will be a little bit prepared for this one. This is the video build guide. I want to show you guys how I've managed to craft this build with the Oculus, how good it is, what you can do to, you know, mitigate the downsides of everything that is surrounding this build, and at the same time show you how it actually plays. I hope you do like this because I've had a lot of fun actually coming up with this, and at the same time, if you do, please leave a like, a comment, and a subscription. It is a fair and fantastic way to help this channel, and we can get up onto more videos. Without any further ado, let's get it, baby! Alright, just a disclaimer before we start. I know a lot of people are not really feeling the Oculus. I've had a lot of comments on my last video saying that the Oculus is absolute trash. I'm not sure they've completely used it. I feel that it is a top tier unique. I absolutely love it. I'm going to show you how to use it in this one, how I synergize it with other uniques and items and aspects to be able to basically obliterate everything in the Venicity, and on top of that, having also an option for killing bosses really quickly. Let's start with the beginning. This build is basically an end game build. It takes from the Blizzard Ice Shard build that I've also made a while ago. If you want to see it, it's right here. It takes a lot out of this, and at the same time it also takes from the crowd control build that is coming up to this channel. The crowd control build is more of a mid game, so levels 50, 61 that you'll be able to use. Super easy, super fun, and it actually destroys a lot of things also. So let's take a look at which aspects, uniques, and other items and skills that we need to be able to put online this specific build with the Oculus, how to get away from the downfalls and the pits, and how to, you know, mitigate a lot of the downfalls we have on this particular build. I have a link in the description and in the pinned comment for the written guide that I've also put on Diablo 4 Planner. If you want to see it and copy it through that, it's going to be super easy to just copy all the aspects you need at the same time. Alright, so before I get a little bit all over the place, before I want to show you the build, let me just tell you that I am going to leapfrog a little bit from the aspects and the synergies when I show you the items, aspects, paragon boards, and skills, just to let you know a little bit of the synergies. Let me know if this is something that works for you, or else I'll do another video with, you know, linear description of these things. Let's get going. First and foremost, we are going to use obviously the Oculus. We are going to get a teleport enchantment for free with a caveat, which basically every time we use that evade, it's going to put us at a random location. For those who don't know, the teleport enchantment is replacing our evade with a short range teleport. Sorry. Once this is what we know, we are using it in conjunction with Raiment of the Infinite, which is an amazing synergy because of one specific unique aspect telling us that after using teleport, close enemies are pulled to you and stunned for 3 seconds. Amazing. Every time we are going to use our evade, not only we're going to teleport, but on top of that, we are going to pull together enemies in the surrounding and stunning them at the same time. This is why it's a fantastic synergy. The second thing in the Oculus that is super important is the reduce evade cooldown by 1.2 seconds on every attack, meaning that on this one I have really poor roll on it. I have only +1 max evade and +7 rank to teleport. You can get up to 15 ranks of teleport and up to 3 max evade charges. You can also get max evade charges on your boots as an intrinsic affix. That's why I'm looking for them. Once you get these, you can get up to +6 evades. I even think you can get up to 4, I'm not sure on the boots. I think it's 3 max, but I'm never completely sure. Meaning that you can get up to 7 evades. Every time you're going to use an evade, it's going to proc teleport stunts and teleport pulls of enemies. This is why this synergy is absolutely amazing. But this is just the beginning. We are also going to proc the second affix on the Oculus, saying that it's going to reduce our evade cooldown by attacks when we use Blizzard. This one is not based on a lucky hit, so every time we're going to hit, we are going to get cooldown reduction on our evade. Since Blizzard hits for 12 seconds when we are using Blizzard over 50 mana, it is going to give us back lots and lots of evade charges. And every time we use an evade, we are once again stunning and pulling people together or enemies together. This is why it's fantastic. In Synergy for Blizzard, we are using Glacial Aspect and Frozen Tundra Aspect. If you haven't seen my Blizzard and Ice Shard build, it is right here. Go take a look at it. It's quite fantastic, and we are using basically the same principles at it. Glacial on our amulet to be able to get the most amount of damage from the spikes, and we are using Frozen Tundra for the secondary part of those said ice spikes, where it says your ice spikes have 50% increased explosion radius. They are working with your Blizzard ice spikes, so it's not only when you use the deep freeze skill that it actually works. This is why it's a great synergy together. So now that we know we're using Oculus, Raiment of the Infinite, Glacial Aspect and Frozen Tundra, we are also going to take a look at what we can proc to get our mana back. Since we are using lots of stuns and lots of Blizzard, we are going to take a look at these bad boys right here. First and foremost is the Static Surge legendary node. Every time we are going to stun close enemies, we are restoring 10 mana. I don't even have to explain this, how good it is, because we have 7 charges of teleport plus the one that we have on our bar. 8 teleports, 8 close pulls, stuns. Getting mana back from this is absolutely free. The second where we are getting our mana back is with the Frigid Breeze, which states that cold damage against vulnerable enemies has up to 20% chance to generate 15 mana. This one is important to understand that it is lucky hit base, so you will need to use a skill to proc the lucky hit, and fortunately Blizzard has a high chance of lucky hit, 41%, so that's why we are getting those mana back really quickly. You can ask the question, but it says vulnerable enemies, and we are not actually using vulnerable other than, you know, Frost Nova, but the thing is we actually do, which comes back for the second part of the attack portion of this build, Ice Shards. We are going to maximize the amount of Ice Shards we're using, because we are not only using it on our bar, but we are also using it on our enchantments. So for the bar, what we are actually looking for is to use the enhanced Ice Shard version, where Ice Shards has 40% chance to ricochet to another enemies, and they always ricochet off frozen enemies. This is important because we're going to freeze lots and lots of enemies. The second one we're using is Destructive Ice Shards, where hitting an enemy with 5 shards in a single cast makes them vulnerable. And since they get vulnerable, they also proc Frigid Breeze, where we can get mana back from it. Also, we are using Avalanche as a key passive, where every single cast of a cold skill, so Ice Shards and Blizzard, have also a lucky hit chance to give us another additional cast for free and with 40% increased damage to them. This is important to understand because Blizzard is going to hit so many times, and the Ice Shards are also going to hit so many times because of all the ricochet they do between all the different people that are already frozen. Once again, we are using another aspect for Ice Shards that is super important. It's called Piercing Cold, where Ice Shard pierce enemies. So whenever you hit an enemy, instead of stopping, it goes behind them. And if they are also frozen, they are going to ricochet to other enemies. And if those enemies are frozen, they're also going to ricochet, and so on and so on. This is why it's such an amazing build. And the fact that these Ice Shards not only will be able to give us back mana, but get vulnerable status on every single enemies, it's amazing. You don't even have to cast Ice Shards to get those enemies frozen, because if you cast Blizzard and the Blizzard freeze them, your Ice Shards automatically goes to them. If it pierces them more than 5 times, they are automatically put in a vulnerable state. This is why it's so good. The synergies are amazing. But we are not even done yet, because we are also using Ice Heart Brace, where enemies that die while they are frozen have up to 20% chance to unleash a Frost Nova, and Frost Nova freeze enemies right away. So if they are already frozen, they get killed by Ice Shards or by your own Frost Nova, they are going to spread even more frost, and it's going to be even amazing. The most important part of this build, in my opinion, is a underrated aspect called the aspect of Shared Misery, where when you hit an enemy that is when you hit an enemy with crowd control, there is up to 50% chance for that crowd control effect to spread to another unaffected enemy. So you see, it's basically kind of like a chain reaction. You send your blizzard in, it chills them. Once they're chilled or frozen, they are going to get ice shards coming through them. They're gonna put them in the vulnerable state. Vulnerable state also spreads because of the shared misery, and the frozen state is also going to spread because of the shared misery. If they die while they are frozen, they get you know, a 20% chance to unleash another Frost Nova. In the same time, you basically teleport everywhere and create a stunt on enemies that are pulled or that are actually hit by this, and that stunt can also be that can also be spread with the shared misery aspect. We are also using another aspect that I love. It's called Binding Embers, where when we use our flame shield, we get to be able to walk through them unhindered, and on top of that, it puts them into an immobilized state. And if you see what I'm going with this, it is also being able to be spread around with shared misery. So basically, if you are, you know, in the actual moment, you use your flame shield, you get immune for 2.1 seconds. Every time you walk through an enemy, they get immobilized, they get hit by the blizzard, they get frozen, they're gonna spread the immobilize, spread the vulnerable, spread the freeze, they're gonna kill or be killed in that frozen state, and then they're gonna do another Frost Nova. That Frost Nova will be able to get spread. It's, like I said, a chain reaction. It is fantastic. I absolutely love this build. Once again, we are using the Prodigy's Circle, so every time we are using a cooldown skill, we are getting back up to 25 mana. This is why this build is so good at sustaining mana, because of this aspect and the other skills and passives that I've shown you a little bit earlier. The legendary aspect, whenever we're gonna stunt someone, we are getting 10 mana back, which is absolutely insane, since we are having up to 8 charges of teleport that we can stun with. And then we have the frigid breeze here, which basically gonna give us up to 15 mana every time we hit a frozen and vulnerable enemy. But we are also using elemental attunement, where critical strikes have up to 15% chance to reset the cooldown of one of our defensive skills. And since our defensive skills gives us back mana because of a cooldown, there is a positive feedback loop also there. This is quite amazing build. I absolutely love it. You can do you know, content 20 level over you. It is absolutely crazy. The last one I'm using for now is Control. We deal 35 up to 35% more damage to immobilized enemies. Once again, absolutely insane. And once you get into a boss room, what you can do is change your items to not being able to, you know, not get the 4 affixes of damages on your wand. I know that was one of the big downfalls from the comments that I've seen. People saying that you miss 4 different affixes of like a weapon. I think it's only necessary in boss fights, because everywhere else that I've used it in Nightmare Dungeons, 10, 15, 20 levels over me, I had absolutely no freaking problems with damage, because everything was always frozen, always immobilized, always stunned. And since we are actually, you know, dealing way more damage when the crowd controls are in effect, I didn't even see it budge. Like, it's that good. If you are in a boss fight, what you can do is basically use a two-handed staff with vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, and critical strike chance, if you can have it, and put the control aspect on it to get up to 70% more damage to immobilize enemies, and another ring to be able to switch the ring of control, because they cannot stack. So you get Storm Swell, or you can get the Inner Calm one, where it gives you, you know, a more up to 30% more damage while you do it. So if you go into a boss fight, you've seen me doing it in this video, you just use these two instead when they are staggered, and basically you're gonna melt them. I still use this in the beginning of the boss fight, because every time you use teleport, since you also have Raiment of the Infinite, it's gonna count as a stunt, so a CC, and it's going to bring up the stagger bar or stagger meter of the set boss. This is why it's so freaking amazing. So let's go and take a look once again at the Paragon board. We are taking Destruction for the critical strike, increase all damage enemies up to 12%. Vulnerable damage for the Exploit glyph. Always try to get them to level 15. They are going to be really, really good. You're going to see your damage coming up like crazy whenever you have them. The most important one in my opinion is Destruction. Control is a really, really good one. The most important one, I think, because of the 20% increased damage to stunned and frozen enemies, and since we only do that, it's gonna be perfect. Elementalist is also very, very good. Since we do fire, cold, and lightning damage, we get up to 15% damage, augmented damage because of this too. It's fantastic. I'm using right now 5 boards. I'm level 83. I still have around like 70 points of Paragon Board that I can use up until level 100, so I'm probably gonna have 2 other boards here and here with 2 other glyphs level 15 with even more damage. It's gonna be quite fantastic. This build that you've seen so far doesn't even take in consideration the hearts. I'm using right now 2 vicious hearts. The one that basically says for each unique element you deal with, like basically the other one, this one is called Tarasha Vicious Heart. Every single element you deal 9.3% up to 12% increased damage for 11 seconds. It's also very good. It's like the same as Elementalist. And specifically this one, you gain 79% critical strike damage, but you on your critical strike chance or critical strike attacks, but your non-critical strike deal 30% less damage. We are trying to do the most amount of critical strike damage, so I think it's pretty good. The only downside that I have for this build right now is that I haven't found the, I think it's called Berber Vicious Heart, where it stacks all the critical strike damage and then basically explodes in one go. I'm using this one here for now, but this is not final. I absolutely am still looking for the best Wrathful Heart to be able to put in there, so we can, you know, triple, quadruple our damage and really see an even bigger difference. So this is all I was actually trying to show you guys for this build. There is a lot of synergies, a lot of different aspects that are working together. It's a big cogwheel, a big mechanical, you know, a mechanical engine that works because of all of the moving parts. But I assure you, you are going to have so much fun with this. My name is Ghost of Red Seas. If you do like this kind of content, please leave a like, a comment, and subscription. It is a free and fantastic way to help this channel. And for those who really didn't like the fact that the Oculus was, in their opinion, a bad weapon, try this build and let me know if it changed your mind or not. My name is Ghost of Red Seas. Once again, have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.